My Estonian colleague here, in his very explicit feedback on the white papers themselves, reminded me that in my own contribution a few minutes ago, I maybe missed saying explicitly that the white papers are very interesting reading, and in fact, well, I have limited myself largely to the Norwegian one. That one is interesting reading. I will recommend it to other user groups. And much of what I tried to share with you was more like reflections on the basis of that Norwegian white paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Please.
Good morning, Άγγελος Καρλάφτης, Επαφός Advisors, Brussels. We are working in a lot of fields for the last 4 years as an advisory private company, and we see that it is needed in a lot of workshops, the linguistic point of view. We don't see it. So, for example, we are building now, we have future internet communities. And the people over there, they don't know about terminology. They're not experts. So as I'm an amateur in terminology, it's a hobby for me, I'm trying to help them, but I'm not an expert. Also, in the space community, last time the Austrian astronaut asked for the, let's say, where it comes the word exploration. So I studied it 1 week on the library here in Belgium, and I gave scientific, according to my little knowledge, explanation about from where it comes the word and how it can be used to the astronauts, to the space program. So what I want to say is that you are not dynamically participating to the whole procedures, at least at the modern technologies. For example, we have the Citizens Initiative. I've spoken to the semantics community 2 days ago, and also to the Citizens Initiative, that we don't have a multilingual approach. We can have the Google translations, but why don't your community doesn't cooperate with the translators or with the semantics community to build a multilingual approach for the Citizens Initiative?
Anyone would like to comment on that or respond to that?
Thank you very much. This is a kind of contribution because I love the community. Also, I see that you don't speak a lot about the classical languages. For example, Google Translate is only Latin, doesn't have the answer to Greek. And you don't speak a lot about the classical languages, which are very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Christina. I'm a student. I'm pursuing a second degree in foreign languages. So this is quite a space for me to be here today. I'm studying Swedish. I don't know much about Norwegian, but what I've learned at school is that there are 2 written languages, bokmål and nynorsk, but from the spoken part, there are dialects. And this brings back to the point of the other speaker who made the point on speech recognition. I see a huge opportunity, a business opportunity, from this part of the technology. I was in Brussels last year attending the first innovation convention held by European Community, and I was thinking why speech recognition is not used on a widely basis whenever we have meetings like this for the speech to appear on the screen. This would be also very useful for inclusion, people with disabilities. And this would also be useful for students, foreign students studying abroad. If I would like to study in Sweden, and if lessons are in Swedish, by reading the words, I might probably get more than just listening to the lecture. So I think one of the leverage, and I would like to give this message to Hans, for him to pass the message to Mr. Kleiner. This is probably one of the things that the European Commission should be focusing on, this opportunity.
If I may respond to this just very briefly. There is a whole, I don't know how to call this, technological food chain. At the very top of this food chain is the speech recognition and machine translation applications, which sort of require all these underlying things to be in place before they can be made to work. So before you can get there, you have to do something about the morphology, you have to do something about the phonology, you have to collect data. There is millions of technological steps. It's not just as you suggest that you just put up a little piece of software that will live transcribe what I'm saying on the whiteboard. That would be wonderful, of course, but the technology is not there, not even for English. I mean, you cannot do real-time transcription with less than 10% error rate at this point. That's too much. That's really confusing, especially when you really want to understand is the word that is missing or misrecognized while you're speaking. So one needs to do a whole, I don't know, technological pyramid or build up something with a very broad foundation. It doesn't sort of magically happen. This requires commitment at a much deeper level. And for many of the languages, like I was just looking at Catalan, which is not represented here at the panel, but is one of really the success stories in terms of regional languages. If you look at Catalan, it now has its own internet domain. It has, huge acceptance, and you go into the MetaShare and you find like 30 plus resources for Catalan. You dig a little bit deeper, what do you see? You see the Catalan news corpus. These news corpora are really, really essential for a lot of later things. They're sort of a less, less thrilling layer of technology, but nevertheless very necessary. And you look at and what do you see? That even for research purposes, you need to pay 4,000 euros to get this. This is completely exclusionary for small and medium enterprises. So this is, if you're a commercial enterprise, you have to pay basically 20,000 to get it. And this is as good as if it didn't exist. So, this is outside the budget of very few multinational corporations could afford it, and either they do have the commitment to Catalan or they don't have the Catalan. No native Catalan corporation has this kind of money to deal with this kind of resource building. So there's a serious problem here. There are artificial barriers being raised by these copyright issues. I've just talked to one of the leading machine translation researchers. I don't want to say who, because his opinion is illegal. He said he doesn't give a damn whether the stuff is copyrighted or not. He's just going to use it to build a better translator. It's not competing with the stuff. He's not republishing the newspapers. Give him a break. Basically, there needs to be a research exemption in place to handle these issues. Thank you.
Yeah, Joseph Mariani, LIMSI, and EMIS in France. So on this, I just would like to mention that there is a new project starting, supported by the European Commission, which is specifically on lecture transcription, but also translation of the transcription, so it may respond to your needs. Now, I had a question. So you mentioned comfort languages, vital languages, and then the next category, which was borderline.
Yes.
If we consider the 23 official European Union languages, what is their status? Where are they standing? And then if we look at other regional languages, I could mention Sami, for example, in Norway, in the Nordic countries. What is the situation?
There is a table underlying those chart that I had up there with the colored dots, and I'm happy to share the table with the people, and you can look at your own language, the one you care about, and find out what's the status. Most of the official languages in Europe are vital. There are a number of smaller languages which we think are borderline. It is not like Catalan is vital for an example, but you look at, but we think Norsk is borderline at best. It is on its way out. So one of the biggest one by number of speakers and size of Wikipedia that we think requires a really serious effort is Gaelic. It's at the top end of those languages. It's why I'm saying I'm not listing the small ones. They're obviously endangered. One thing that I've just seen that in 40,000 people downloaded an app for the iPhone which teaches you words in your own dialect, West Flemish. So I don't know if anybody has seen that. Yes, all right. So, oh, so wonderful. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I mean by digital vitalization. 40,000 takers. As soon as it's an app that you can get from the App Store, it's cool, right? You need to understand this mentality and put yourself into it.
May I suggest that we have one very last comment?
I'm president of the European Forum of Sign Language Interpreters, and I'm happy that sign languages were mentioned already this morning. And also the fact of the development of minority languages. I think we shouldn't forget that there are nearly 1 million sign language users in the EU. There are 30 sign languages in the EU. And we as interpreters are also faced with the fact that we have to provide interpretation services in all these sign languages. And we do need the industry, especially in technology, because we have, for the first time, the DG on interpretation. So in criminal proceedings, we have to provide interpretation services, which is nearly impossible for us. So we are considering remote interpreting, and that's something that really needs a lot of attention as well. So thank you for that, and I hope you will take that on board as well.
Let me just amplify this. We can close the session because I know people want to have their coffees, but I really want to amplify a little bit on the sign language issue. This is such an important field from the pure linguistic point of view. Everybody knows that, you know, phonology in sign language is of course very different from phonology in spoken languages. The effort it takes to record it is much bigger. You have to have video. When you're spoken language, you need only an audio track. So this is an expensive area even for already basic research, let alone for this kind of translation services that she was talking about. So whoever has his hands on the money bags, yes, please take the sign language issue very seriously. Please.
There's one more question.
Khalid Shukri from the European Language Resource Association. I want to go back just quickly to the copyright issue that has been mentioned a couple of times. And I wanted to emphasize the fact that our researchers, whenever they are downloading data and things like that, they are in a very bad position compared to the Japanese or the Americans, who can use the same data using some of the fair research act that the Copyright Act in the US or in Japan allow them to do. So I think we should take this opportunity that we have some of the representatives in the European Parliament and talk about how can we deal with that in Europe, how can we have an exception for research, the same way that we have for education in a number of countries, and try to address this issue once for all, instead of just letting the researchers, some of them taking risks that they hardly assess. Thank you.
Thank you. So on this note, I think we should conclude at this point. I think this is a very, very critical issue and is worth a lot of separate discussion, but maybe we should do that during the coffee break.
So let's regather then at 11:45, so 15 minutes coffee break. Thank you.